Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. In the studio, guest, my friend and fellow student of life, Mr. Kenny Shaffer, sitting in the hot seat, gonna hang out.
How you doing?
Talk some shit. So Kenny, is a buddy of mine that I got from part of my journey into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, continuing journey into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're like one of the first guys I rolled with in class, actually. Yeah. And so it turns out this guy's into a lot of the same stuff I am. Joe Rogan, podcasts, podcasting, stand-up comedians, guitar, rock music.
Yes, sir.
We were, 2:30 in the morning last night, trading GarageBand files back and forth through a share drive and shit. So I've been dying to get him on the show and just have him come in and tell us what he's into lately, what's going on, and kind of hang out. But so what'd you think of that? We kind of figured that out last night. You're the first person I've been able to get to do that, to collaborate that way with GarageBand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what did you think of that after we finally got it working and stuff?
Me and my friend Brandon, we tried to share stuff back and forth before through, the cloud and GarageBand and all that stuff. We really, couldn't figure it out, but I thought it was pretty cool, like how you could add the drums and everything onto it and send it back to me. I feel like that's going to be great for a collaboration with people in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's always been that like utopian thing that GarageBand was supposed to provide, was this ability. So everybody get GarageBand. It's in the App Store. It's $4.99 or something like that, and then we'll all be on the same page. And when the band is in 3 different towns and everybody's got kids and stuff, you were going to be able to collaborate. But I mean, you're the first person that I've been able to get that to actually work with.
Yeah,
and it does seem like it's going to be a fairly powerful type tool. You know?
I love GarageBand because, somebody like me, I don't have, the big studio, fancy studio and all that stuff. So, I plug in the iRig, just record something right there, be able to send it to you. You'd be able to help me out with like the finding the key and stuff like that. I feel like I'm going to be able to learn a lot through this stuff.
It makes it finally, I think, reached that point that it was sort of sold to us as being, was that it was going to give us these amazing collaboration tools, and nobody could ever get the shit to work.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so clunky, but it is slick.
Yeah,
it's very slick. It's still limited though. I mean, you got to put it in perspective for what it is.
Yeah, and it was a little confusing at first. I'm willing to show people how to do that as well. Because we tried like two or three different ways to share it.
Yeah, we ended up, the only way we could get it to work was to share it through like the iCloud drive.
Yeah.
That was it. And once we sorted, and it looks like we could invite multiple people to that same collaboration file.
Yeah.
And I think what it is basically whoever saves it last is the version everybody kind of gets.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But it also seems to store like a local file too, so you wouldn't necessarily be stepping on, because if you had like 5 people editing the same song at the same time, they upload it, they add drums, but you've changed the guitar, but they download it with the drums and overwrite your guitar. Like it can really get messy that way. So I think it's kind of a one person checks it out at a time kind of thing is the way you would have to do that.
Yeah. When you opened the file last night, did you get any kind of message?
I got several.
Okay. Because I know when you were in there editing stuff and I went to open up the file, it said like someone else is working on it, something along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just immediately backed out of it, so I didn't
So there you go.
Anything you were doing. Yeah.
That's the way. Oh man, that is slick.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it finally works. So that's gonna be that's really cool. Holy crap, that's gonna be cool.
Oh yeah.
Because man, that would be fun. So. Like that's what I was saying to you last night. If Eric, the Gray Wizard of Historical Knowledge. If Eric were doing this, he would be doing it. He would be doing the mastering on a PC, and he'd be using like a DAW, a for real digital audioware software. Okay. Not that I'm not saying that GarageBand isn't, but GarageBand is sort of like the training wheels version of those software packages that you can get. Some of them are ridiculous, like tens of thousands of dollars. Insane, right? But what this tool gives people the ability to do, because if you have a DAW, you probably have GarageBand. You follow me?
Yeah.
So GarageBand now becomes like this weird universal translator. So it doesn't matter. Like if you and I are collaborating, you're writing me sick guitar licks and riffs and shit. And you're sending that over to me, right? So now I can take that and I can sample that out as an actual file,
right,
straight out of GarageBand, and put it right into my digital audioware. Okay. Do whatever I'm going to do to it, and then send that file back to you in GarageBand in that same working structure now, right?
Yep.
So it becomes like this weird translation tool. So on your end, it doesn't matter. I use Reaper, whatever you're using, Cakewalk, whatever you're using on your end.
Yeah.
Okay. It no longer matters.
Yep.
Because now we have GarageBand to send shit back and forth with each other.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I do think it's a really solid feature, everyone in different spots and all that. So I'm looking forward to like sending you future projects and seeing what you're able to do with them. I liked what you sent me last night with the drums added onto it and the bass and stuff like that.
And dude, that was totally that was 95% just garage, understanding how to tell GarageBand the right thing to automatically generate.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah.
So like that whole drum track and everything it was 5 minutes. That tool is, and that's another thing that GarageBand is phenomenal for, is putting those placeholders in, and then you get the real musician, and then you sub that track out for the real musician track. You know what I mean? But it allows you to. That's what I was telling you when you sent me that last night. I was like, dude, can I mess with this? Right? Because it's so easy to scratch pad, doodle pad, to like hear what you're trying to compose in a bigger context, like immediately, because you can throw those pre-generated type tracks in so easy.
Yeah.
So it's a great tool for like using to compose with.
Yeah. And I also like it because, like you could be hearing a certain way in your head.
Yep.
And then when you got a different feel from somebody else on there, it inspires you. Oh, hey, I was stuck on this spot.
Yep.
Now I'm going to be able to throw something maybe a little bit more wild sounding in there, something completely different than I was hearing,
But this comes back to your point, about how, everybody's got some sort of tool now available to, $4.99 for GarageBand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I don't want to sound like I'm belittling that thing. The top 40 music you could pull off in GarageBand.
Yeah, absolutely.
No problem, man. It'd be so easy.
Same formula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, so what I'm getting at is it's a very powerful composition tool. Like it's legit. Yeah. It's not a toy. It's for real.
Yeah, for sure. When I first started messing with it back in, Christmas time, I bought my own iRig, and it would have been nice to get it as a gift, but yeah. But anyways, like, I everything that I did on there, I learned on my own. I didn't have any like guide or anything really to teach me how to do it. So I know the stuff that I sent you last night was a little bit rough sounding, but I did figure out how to do that all on my own. And my question to you would be like, when I sent it to you, you could set it in sections. Like I think I had it set on like maybe 4 or 8 bars or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be easier if I sent like the verse and like a bigger chunk than just those little, like those little bars?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be easier for a future recording, or if I sent it to you if they were longer? If that makes sense.
The answer I'm going to give you is going to be an artistic one.
Okay.
Honestly, because it really is. So if you cut it up into a lot of smaller pieces, then when you're trying to slide, move, edit, it becomes a huge hassle. Oh, okay. So I end up joining shit breaking stuff back apart, anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that so you're talking about like your verse, your bridge, and those pieces and how many measures they are and all that kind of stuff. And then inside of GarageBand, you can set a section to be as many measures as you want.
Yeah.
I think it really comes down to feel.
Oh, okay.
I think it comes down to, because what happens when you're editing, you go into that part of the song. Maybe it's just the chorus, right?
Right.
And if you have that cut up too many pieces, you might, through the individual editing, lose the feel of the chorus.
Gotcha.
So I always default back to the mood or the feel that I'm trying to make happen. Okay. And that's what I let dictate how many measures I put in a section. That's a good question, right?
Yeah.
I totally get where you're coming from. But that's the way I would say, that's what I would say to do. And then, because after that, then the rest of the music just falls in behind that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So, like, it made sense just now when you said, like, how long you said it depends on the feel, because thinking back to the track that I sent you, the end of the song where I'm trying to put this solo together, I ended up making that just one long piece, right? Because I was having trouble fitting it into the little measures, you know what I'm saying? So I was going more off the feel. Yeah,
because if you break it, you'll break that feel.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense.
Now, I don't know if there's any specific like guide for that, but you know what, man, that's the point. You've taught yourself this tool, and like, it doesn't really there's no manual. It's an Apple product.
Yeah.
Literally, it's sort of self-explanatory.
Yeah,
there's little pop-ups that come up every now and then. It's like, hey, dummy, kind of stuff. But
a little paperclip.
And I ended up in it the same way that you did. I ended up in it with an iRig and trying to figure out a way to be able to take my guitar when I travel and still practice on the road without, people in hotels get pissed if you had an amplifier.
Absolutely.
Not that you could bring it on a plane anyway. It'd be ridiculous. But, so that was like what were they, like, it was like $24 or something stupid.
Yeah.
And so I was all in GarageBand and an iRig for like $35.
Oh yeah, for sure. You get some decent headphones with it.
Yeah,
a solid sound.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then what I did with it, when it really took off for me was when I figured out how to move MP3s.
Oh, okay.
Into the so I could create tracks, so I could get backing tracks pre-made, like blues or rock or whatever backing tracks that I liked. So I would get those, and then I would move them into GarageBand as an MP3, and then I would create a new track and then put that MP3 in the track, and then use their guitar amp models and stuff, and I would play and record against it.
Okay.
So the very first stuff I ever recorded was with backing tracks from YouTube and an iRig and an iPhone.
Yeah.
It was so stupid easy,
Yeah, I love that stuff. So when you're saying the MP3, when you were able to put it into GarageBand, did you have to send that from a desktop or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've been wondering how to put on like the backing tracks and stuff like that.
What you do is this took me a while to figure out, but man, this was the revelation. When I figured out how I could put files on my phone, it'd be the same thing if you had an iPad. Okay, it's the exact same. You got to be connected to iTunes, and then I think it's like devices or something on the left.
Okay.
So basically, you end up selecting your device, whether it's your iPhone or your iPad, and then there's like an apps or programs selection. Well, once you go into that subcategory, there's a window that pops up on the right, like it always does. Okay. But you got to scroll all the way down to the bottom of that window, and then there's a place where you can select applications, and you can add files to applications.
Oh, all right.
So you go down there and you select GarageBand, and then you can literally just drag MP3s and then it just moves them over your phone, and then when you go into where you would pick the loops inside of GarageBand, now you have tracks.
Oh, all right.
And it's those MP3s.
That would help tremendously, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what, when I started, anybody that's trying to learn how to play lead guitar, I swear this is the easiest way, especially if you're an old fat white guy like me and middle aged, and you're trying to live out your rock and roll dreams, and the missus is going to get really pissed if I set up a Marshall stack and start really going at it, right?
Yeah.
So now I got headphones, and now I've got these MP3 backing tracks, so I don't even have a band, and I can set this thing on loop. I get these 10-minute sometimes backing tracks and stuff, and you can just set with your electric guitar without pissing the neighbors off, without pissing your wife off, and just practice playing lead guitar. And you've got a band willing to sit there and do it for you for however many hours you want to play that same track over and over and over again, and so there's like an efficiency of doing it that way, where the old school, you got a bunch of buddies together, you jammed out a 1-4-5 or a blues track or whatever, and you fiddled around, and they'd play the same freaking track for 20 minutes while you're trying to teach yourself how to play lead guitar. You don't have to do that anymore now. So you can kind of hone your chops, without pissing a bunch of people off while you're playing that same lick for the 400th time, trying to get it down,
Yeah, you don't got to worry about people showing up on time and all that
right.
stuff either.
Screw it. Yeah, Anthony, and when Anthony was on the show, he talked about this too, about these collaboration tools now, because that's what he does. He's got, I guess the guy he collaborates with now, they just put a video out on YouTube that's like blistering.
Oh yeah, I watched that right before I came over.
Holy crap, man. I mean, Jesus, Anthony. Like my face melted. I think it's what I put up is, watch this video, it'll melt your face or something. But
it was some good stuff.
But he's realizing this now too, and a lot of musicians and artists are realizing this now, is that collaborative ability is like it's never been before. So I think the guy he works with is like in Philadelphia or something like that. Yeah. And he talked about there's some guy he's working with too that's I think's in Australia. So it's crazy how easy it is now.
And another thing I like being able to share it with people like that is I don't know, I feel like the more you listen to music, or maybe the more you like actually start to venture into being a musician and stuff like that, is like people from different regions of the world, they got the different feel. So you could send that to, say, somebody in Australia, and they might have a different like cultural sound with it, and put a twist on it. I think that kind of stuff's really cool. Yeah,
it's like this. You're right, and there is like this incredible homogenization of all of these different cultural. Well, that track you sent me last night from, what's the name of that band?
He Is Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that went like, I was listening to it and I was getting one completely different vibe, and then all of a sudden the song switches, and it's like, where are we going with this? It was like a Middle Eastern sort of feel and vibe to it in the middle of this, fairly solid, heavy song. So that's happening a lot. People are borrowing those influences for sure.
It's ironic that you say that, because the lead guitarist actually spent his early childhood in the Middle East. His parents traveled around for work and stuff like that.
He gets it natural.
Yeah. And that, I can't say enough good things about that band. Like they're one of those bands that I feel like their sound grew up with me as I was growing up too. Like their sound got more mature the older I got and stuff like that. But, I feel like it's a musician's band overall, mostly because how drastically they change sounds in between albums.
Yeah.
Like their first CD was more, I would say, is like a jazzy sound with like screamo type stuff over top of it. Then their second CD was just straight up Southern riffs, like Southern metal riffs with like a deeper sound.
Weird.
And then that song that I sent you last night is off their third CD, so they just keep changing their sound throughout every single CD. And they're one of the only bands that, like, I love all their albums front to back, every song. Like that's my shit on music. Yeah.
And I think that there's and I ask a lot of people this, from authors that we've had on the show to artists and stuff like that. And I asked Anthony about it too. It's like, I think that there's this weird conundrum right now between everybody having the ability, but not everybody should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's tough because people are like, you're a critic and all of the, and I don't mean to be that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's kind of hard to find the the diamonds, and when there's so much, you know what I mean? When there's so much noise. But then again, there's a lot more diamonds now that the record industry isn't the only people picking them. So it's like there's this weird good and bad sort of quotient to everybody having the ability. You know, it's like with social media too. Everybody can have a voice, but should they?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of people talking about shit they probably shouldn't be talking about, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, as far as like the music and stuff like that, like you said, like all that top 40 stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I like a song here and there, so I'm not gonna lie about that. You know, I do like some pop artists and stuff like that. But most of the time, I can't tell these bands apart when I'm hearing them on the radio, stuff like that. So that's why I feel like, you know, supporting your local scene and stuff like that, and trying to get those smaller guys built up and trying to get a unique sound out there.
And you're right. It's hard. Country music. I haven't got a clue who I'm listening to anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, who's this?
Yeah. The only one I'm interested in is Wheeler Walker.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, he's good.
I know that it's that's what I mean. It's almost like there's too much of, as soon as something looks like it's marketable, then the next day it feels like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And I was asking my kids about this because, you know, my son's into K-pop.
Oh yeah.
He's into K-pop. Okay. And I'm thinking, where did he freaking find K-pop?
Yeah.
Like, huh? You know? So I don't know where kids today find popular music. How do you say what's popular?
Yeah, exactly. Like button.
do we do it by record sales anymore? Because who buys records?
Exactly.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, hardly anybody even prints CDs anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm like, you know, that 90s, early 2000s kid, you know. I have a whole CD collection at home, just like how my dad's got like records and stuff like that. Like, I got a whole mess of records, or CDs rather, and I take pride in them. I just copy them onto my computer and then put them in the box, you know. I feel like a lot of artists are missing out on being like fully creative and stuff like that, because you used to be able to get those, and some people still do it, like the CD packs and stuff like that. You get custom artwork, or
sure,
like handwritten lyric books and stuff like that. Like, I feel like a lot of that digital stuff doesn't have like the same impact. You don't hold the physical copy in your hand.
Yeah, you don't get that tactile connection to the artist anymore. And you can, but it's all like special order type stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Pre-orders, stuff like that, or like GoFundMe packages and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's now on the flip side, if you're an artist, you can create shit like T-shirts and all kinds of stuff, and never pack a box, never send a shipping label, and sell swag to, you know, comedians do it. Musicians are doing this now. You know, there's like this huge, the middle piece that used to exist, this big weird middle piece is just gone now. And so artists are like direct to the audience now almost entirely.
Yeah.
So is that a good or a bad thing?
I want to say, like,
because there isn't any filters anymore either. You know?
As far as like the direct to the audience and stuff, I feel like there's, you know, something lost on that, because like, as far as like how much content you put out, exactly, like, I feel like it's oversaturated now. So like, you don't really get anticipation from like a big release coming up, because you're used to getting everything in bulk, like binge listening, binge watching, stuff like that. Most bands, they'll just, you know, put out maybe one single, two singles, and then drop the whole CD. I remember, you know, there used to be like 3 or 4 singles off of a CD, and then the CD would release or whatever, they would tour off that CD. But now it's like, oh, you get it instantly. Well, when are they going to put out the next album or the next song now, you know?
Right.
I feel like everything's expected to be right there immediately.
It sort of trickles out now.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
I remember
like
that was
a damper on it.
When Beyonce, I think it was Beyonce, dropped an album on iTunes, didn't even tell anybody. There was no, I think it was hey, we dropped an album, here's a press release. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
Boom, and the thing took off. So that was like the shot across the bow to me, to the record industry, to everybody. That was like, I don't need your shit anymore. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you listen to it or not, but like Eminem, he just dropped a CD like that, like maybe a month ago. And from what he's saying, I guess like he didn't really get any OKs from anybody. He just put it out, like
Yeah,
didn't
because
really
he's got
have.
a label.
Yeah, exactly. And he didn't, get any OKs from his lawyer or Dr. Dre or anybody like that. He just went for it, like back on like the old Eminem type stuff.
Yeah, he's so gangster, man.
Oh
Shit.
yeah. And
sue me.
yeah. And just like these top 40 guys, and we were talking about earlier, I think before we started recording this, about like the resurgence of like real music coming back up. Like it's under the layer right now, but it's steady coming back up. And I think that's something that he did with this album, like all those mumble rappers and stuff like that. He actually had something to say when he came out.
Yeah, there's a renaissance happening.
Yeah,
it's not as pronounced. That's what we were talking about. We said, because we agreed that there's definitely like a renaissance in comedy happening. Comedy's getting big again.
Yeah,
and he's fucking Joe Rogan selling out the Schottenstein Center.
Oh
shit,
yeah,
just like
that's
stadium
wild.
level.
Yeah.
I saw Roger Waters there.
Yeah, exactly. And this is one dude with a mic.
And this is a dude with a mic.
Yeah.
Okay. And like there's this like public people speaking in public, like Jordan. There's people like Jordan Peterson, who's a firebrand, but like him or not, this is a dry ass college professor that's out there selling out like stadiums and giving lectures, college level like lectures.
Yeah.
And people were paying for that, like to go see it like a show. So that's weird, right, man? I mean,
yeah, like I appreciate that though, that they're willing to spend the money to go there and actually learn something instead of just being, buried in their technology, Facebook and all day taking this fake news or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And not really doing any research and kind of forming their own opinions. So I do like that, people are selling out places, doing seminars and lectures and all that.
There's definitely a breaking point here that I think's happening where people they don't like the fake shit anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I know, I'm sick of it.
Podcasting.
Yeah.
Here we are, right? Why? Why is this even a thing?
Yeah.
It's a thing because people are getting a little sick and tired of the same sort of propagandist selling points for everything. And everything's sold to us that way, from our politics to our cosmetics to our cars to
absolutely.
And you get bombarded with it at a level now that was I don't ever dreamed of. People feed it to themselves through social media and shit like this,
exactly,
right? Constantly. They subscribe to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So all of a sudden there's this thirst for stuff that's a little more honest, I think, and a little more real. And so we're seeing that in comedy, we're seeing that in music, we're seeing that. I think it's happening everywhere.
Yeah. And like me personally, I know that I enjoy podcasts. Like, I feel like the past maybe 4 or 5 years I've been listening to podcasts. I'm much, I got much more knowledge, just from all that stuff, hearing hours of people talking about just anything really that I'm interested in. Excuse me. And, I think it's just a really good tool, and especially because, most of them are free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can, like anything else on the internet, though, it can become very echo chamber-ish real quick. I was talking to my buddy Don about this, and making a podcast that has a shit ton of downloads that you can make money off of real quick is actually a fairly simple thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. All you got to do is you got to have a pretty decent production quality. Okay. So you have to be able to visit Best Buy and buy the right stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have to say really hateful, inflammatory shit.
Yeah.
Okay. And your download will go through the roof.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a sad state of affairs, man. So it's out there. It's absolutely out there.
Yeah. So I feel like that's where you get people, like, not that I listen to him, so I don't know if it's a fair assessment, but like Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Like, from what I understand, like, he's gotten all this recent controversy and stuff because, making up lies and stuff like that and pissing a lot of people off.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, me personally, I like the podcast where people are themselves, like they're real about it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Like, people that put on the persona and all that stuff acting like something that they're not, I can't really get behind that. So
I have a hard time. the whole Alex Jones thing is tough.
Yeah.
Because there's culpability on both sides of that equation in the sense that, number one, admittedly, Alex Jones does a show.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. He personifies a character, as he says in court documents. Okay.
Yeah.
Sworn court documents, right? And that's one part of the equation.
Yeah.
And says really crazy ass things sometimes.
For sure.
The other part of the equation is the people that don't understand that Alex Jones is a infotainment.
Yep. I know
he's
a few
a
of
show.
them.
Okay. Not that what he's doing is necessarily illegal.
Yeah.
But it should be considered, I think, infotainment. So it's definitely got a degree of truth, but it's also got this degree of sensationalism. So you got to kind of, I think you have to kind of take it with, the term would be grain of salt.
Yeah.
And there's two pieces of the coin, right? There's the people there's him, saying one thing in court and then saying another thing on the radio.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is just good for him because it creates controversy. He doesn't lose there. Right.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff. And then there's there's the other side of the coin. It's like when I was a kid with wrestling.
Yeah.
There was a large group of kids that thought that the wrestling, all of that was for real.
Oh, yeah.
When we were little kids.
Professional wrestling.
Yeah, professional wrestling,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Not like legit wrestling. And then there was a group of people whose parents were like, that's all acting, right?
Yeah.
And they got it. They never believed it. But it's the same. It's kind of the same dynamic here. There's people that look at that and go, okay, that's a show.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not making life decisions based on the really cool, interesting conclusions that this man comes up with.
Yeah.
Okay. I because it's a show. And then there's other people that are building bunkers and buying MREs and things, based on that guy. But, I don't think that should be illegal. I don't think he should be barred from being and saying inflammatory things.
Yeah, he should be able to say what he wants for sure. I just wish the people that are taking it to heart as far as his audience, that they would actually do some research, because I wonder how many people think, if any at all, that that's 100% who he is as a person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I got a few people on my Facebook. I don't know if they're trolling or not, but they're always posting stuff that Alex is saying, or pushing flat Earth super hard. And I'm just like, what is going on?
Right.
I just don't understand it.
My guest tomorrow night is a real good friend of mine and an educator.
Okay.
And she's coming on to talk about a study that she's done about the environmental factors and how they apply to things like opioid addictions.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's like a legit scientist type lady.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then one of the things that's really been bothering her is this the anti-science movement.
Yeah.
That seems to be taking a weird turn, that people are taking some of this stuff serious now. A lot more people than should be, so I think we're going to talk about that tomorrow night too. To your point, flat earthers be damned and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a little weird. What's I thought everybody, I'd seen the meme. I thought everybody understood basic 6th grade science until I joined Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Me personally, I just don't see what the benefit is of lying about the shape of the earth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's demonstrably provable. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're saying I know I've heard some people say the sky is just a hologram or whatever it may be. It's sometimes, when I'm on the way home from work, 2:00 in the morning, sometimes I just be riding passenger seat, just staring up at the sky. I'm fascinated by space and all that stuff. Just staring at the moon, because that's usually the brightest thing on the way home with all the lights. And hologram, come on now. Come on now.
Well, even Elon Musk and Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
The whole hologram theory. And I get where it gets credence, and it gets credence from the fact that when you examine something at a super, super small level, it scatters. It does this weird thing where it pixelates. If you were looking at a computer screen, you got real close to it, you'd start to see the LEDs.
Right.
So it does that. Everything does that.
Yeah.
So that's where they kind of get this weird sort of idea that it's some sort of 4-dimensional. I know it's trippy, right?
Yeah.
Can't get there, huh?
No. It's just crazy.
It's a theory, man. I mean, it's Eric and I talk all the time about the Orco-R, which is this theory of that consciousness rides on the collapse of like these microtubules in your brain.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really fascinating sort of theory.
Yeah.
And it's a weird, almost, I wouldn't call it a religious thing. It's sort of like a way for people that are really into science and physics and things like that can get their mind around how consciousness exists without a spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of what it is. And it may be true. There seems to be a lot of data that supports it, but there's chasms of space that between those assumptions that still aren't filled. So there's no way to say that that's true or not. It's just a fun topic, you know?
Yeah. Space, that's always, one of those things that just breaks my brain the more I think about it. Like, especially hearing like Neil talk about like how long it would take just to explore our solar system.
Yeah.
I think he said something like 100,000 years going the speed of light.
Yeah. Insane.
That's just completely ridiculous. Once I start, I don't know, it's kind of like, I guess like a natural drug for me when I think about stuff like that, because my imagination just goes wild of what could be out there, you know? So that's what, or maybe that's why, I have, not necessarily like hatred towards like flat earth theory or anything like that, but it's just like, that was a part of my childhood, that imagination, just, imagining what's out there. So maybe that's why I'm like, so.
Well, there definitely comes I ain't got time for your shit kind of feeling about some of this stuff, that I have like some standing policies like about certain things. For instance, if we're friends on Facebook, and you post some really stupid, really hateful or propagandist bullshit, I unfriend you.
Yeah.
I don't tell you. I don't fight with you. I don't argue with you. I just unfriend your ass. And my point to this is that, the world's, I have to see enough messed up shit as a normal course of my life. I'm not going to go out and subscribe to it. Especially when you're completely full of shit. I'm not going to, you're right. You get a voice. It doesn't mean I got to subscribe to it. And it's great with social media because I can just flick and turn you off like a light switch and I don't have to see your crap anymore, you know? But that goes back to this sort of assumption. And the people that get upset have the weirdest sort of delusion that somehow being friends on Facebook means your friends are not friends in real life.
Yeah.
And there are people that I absolutely will not subscribe to on Facebook, but if they called me at 2:00 in the morning because their house was on fire, I'd be there for them in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there's like this weird, there's this weird delusion that's sort of happening with all this stuff too.
Yeah, because I mean, there's people on there, that I have that I've known from high school, haven't talked to for 12, 13 years.
Or seen, right?
Yeah,
like in person.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? But we're friends.
Exactly.
Air quotes.
Like, I mean, not to get into like anything, too controversial or anything, but I remember the Newark Advocate posted this piece about like abortion or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these chicks from high school that I just had because I knew him from high school, right? I feel like I'm pro-choice on that,
Okay.
Me personally, I don't feel like that's something I would try to push for in my life. If, I got a girl pregnant or whatever, I would try to fight to keep it. But my stance on it is pro-choice. And she's trying to tell me that my opinion doesn't matter because I'm a guy. Like, I don't understand it. She's pro-life 100%, but I don't get a choice because I'm a guy.
Right.
I think that's a little messed up,
Yeah, I couldn't even begin to put my mind around that. But in the sense that the way I come down on that is when I actually start having the ability to have children, I'll develop an opinion.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I come down on a lot of these issues, man. It's like I don't think it's my right to have an opinion.
Yeah.
Because it's not a condition I will ever suffer from.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I don't know what that makes me.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me somebody that wants to let them make the decision.
Yeah.
And I'll support it because I don't have to deal with that. You know what I mean? That's not. But I think if we took that approach on a lot more issues in this world, we'd have a lot less problems.
Yeah, just being open minded.
Yeah, letting there's and I get it, man. I mean, that's a hot button issue. Ooh, is that a hot button issue? Yeah. And I get why it's a hot button issue.
Absolutely,
I totally get that too. But I don't believe that there's this binary world. Yeah. Okay, there's this real interesting theory. It's called the just hypothesis. It's called the just world hypothesis. Okay, you ever heard of this?
I have not.
Okay, so the just world hypothesis says that if good things are happening to you, it's because you're a good person.
Yeah,
and it says that if bad things are happening to you, conversely, it must be because you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why this is dangerous, right, is because neither of those things are actually true.
Yeah.
However,
absolutely.
I mean, an enormous amount of people at some of our population, of the world's population, okay, at some level or another, believe or participate in this just world hypothesis.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like this weird what am I trying to say? It's like this weird way that people live that they feel gives them the right then to judge other people.
Yeah.
Okay, morally and things like that.
Yep.
But it's based entirely on a presumption that is absolutely not even true.
Yeah.
Because people suffer or gain individually in this world. Yeah. Some people travel through life almost unabated, especially if you're born in the right family or you have the right skin color or you're in the right geographic location on this planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There are environmental factors that play out here, you know, and I can't sit here now and say, okay, well, all those people that starve in other countries, well, they must be doing something wrong. But that's where that kind of shit leads. You know what I mean? That moralistic sort of ideology. That's where that kind of stuff leads. It's dangerous.
Yeah. I feel like that's one thing that's weird about like America is like the disconnect with the rest of the world, like just among the the general population of our country. It's just really weird because technically we're the 1% of the entire world. And when we've got so many people here, different classes of people from struggling to just, living wealthy. So I don't really, I've had a lot of bad things happen to me. I wouldn't necessarily consider me a bad guy,
right.
But, and I've also had a lot of good things happen to me that I'm very, grateful for. I've had, cars bought for me. I've been plugged into jobs,
right.
Really good jobs without having to go through like any applications or anything like that, just a hookup, So
I had a buddy of mine, this oil guy that I was real good friends with for a long time. He used to tell me all the time, he would say, man's a herd-bound animal. That was his justification for like, and there's a lot of wisdom in it. There's the reason why I still remember it today is that, to your point, yes, the I think it's like, I think that the lowest poverty level in the United States, the level of poverty in the United States still puts you in the top like 10% of the world's population. So there, and then inside the United States, you've still got class ideology that's at odds with each other. Okay. And so people here don't really think of themselves anymore as Americans per se. Like there's no boat that we're all in anymore. Everybody's in their own boat now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And pretty tribal.
And then that tends to sort of people sort of tribe up. And our boats look a lot alike. Let's hook our boats together, and that's just what happens, but the problem with that is then you start getting into teams. And then it starts becoming not about what's best for the United States or any country or governing body, whatever, it starts to become about what's best for my team.
Absolutely.
And I think that, to your point, I think that that's sort of where things are. You know, that we've tribed up so much now that no one's recognizing that, bitches, but we're all part of this same other tribe, you know. And by the way, compared to the rest of the world, you know, we're the lamb chop here.
Exactly.
The big, fat, juicy, you know, lamb chop.
And I even see it like boiling down to things, obviously, like, you know, just even the work environment. Like, people group up with, you know, like-minded people and then maybe try to get somebody fired that they don't like or something, or maybe you're having a bad day at work or you just don't like the job in general and you're like hoping like, oh man, like I hope sales go down so I can leave early or something like that. It's just kind of like, you know, anchoring everything down. Like, you got to have a good attitude about things.
Yep.
And, you know, I try not to like judge people when I first meet them or anything, you know, and that's what I like about
well,
jiu-jitsu.
today you wouldn't know. You don't know anymore. Someone's all tatted up, got hoops, whatever. You know, that dude's a philosopher nowadays. Exactly. You don't know.
Yeah,
it's so different.
Yeah, this I mentioned earlier how, you know, I've had, you know, a vehicle bought for me before. I worked at this tobacco warehouse, wholesale, independently owned tobacco warehouse. From what I understand, the dude's a self-made millionaire. You would never even know. He still shops on clearance racks. You know?
Right.
And he's like super humble and everything. He was like showing me like the black book, you know, from when he was younger in the 80s, you know, selling stuff out of the trunk of his car, and now he's got his own warehouse.
That's always been my thing with people is, man, you just need to hustle.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids that too. You know, I want a new computer. I'm like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Well, I can't get a job. I'm like, no. We're talking about a hustle.
Yep.
What are you going to hustle?
Yeah.
You know, and that's a whole different thing. And like, they're culturally Italian.
Yeah.
And like all of their uncles, I mean, that's a thing, you know, and the Cuban families, it's very much the same thing, man. Like everybody's got a hustle. Everybody's got something that they're doing. And it doesn't, that's telling my son, I was like, no, I'm not telling you to go do shit that's illegal. That's not what I'm saying, man. You know, but you can detail cars, you can deliver papers, you can get a hustle. You need a hustle. You get too much time on your hands, think about all the shit you ain't got. You know, go get a hustle, and all of a sudden that goes away.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, like, I'm trying to find out, like, I'm kind of like stuck in this creative like pocket because there's so many things that I want to, you know, try to express myself in, but I just really don't know how to get a start on it. Like, I guess, you know, music, playing guitar is like what I've got the most experience in, but I also want to dabble with, like, you know, film, like make short films and stuff like that, and learn how to, you know, work around a computer really well, learn how to edit stuff and all that, or even learn how to write stories and stuff like that, or even outlets like being a stand-up comedian and stuff like that, you know.
Well, what are you more into? What are you drawn more to? Are you drawn more to the actual production, or are you drawn more to the art itself?
The art itself.
So you want to learn all this stuff just as a basis to continue to allow you to develop whatever your vision for art might be with it.
Yeah. Like, because when I'm talking about, like, I want to be filming and stuff like that, obviously, like, learning the production and stuff behind it would be, like, a great help. But I'm, like, envisioning this stuff in my head that I want to be able to put on screen or on paper exactly like I'm seeing it. And, you know, because I feel like I have a lot of good ideas, not to sound like, you know, full of myself or narcissistic or anything. But it's just, like, the stuff that I see in my head, I feel like a lot of people could enjoy it. And, you know, and also the stuff like you were showing me with music, like, you know, how to navigate the fretboard a little better. I feel like that's going to help me tremendously as far as songwriting and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's an exploration. It never stops. Like, I was thinking about this the other day, and I understand now that jiu-jitsu is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's weird, okay?
Yeah.
What I don't know is how often per week I'll do it.
Absolutely.
But it's something that I know I'm going to pursue and do for the rest of my life. And, and I know that from the same sense that I also know I will be playing guitar for the rest of my life. Does that make sense, man?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, that sort of clicked with me the other day, but it's the same thing. You know, it's something I'm going to do. It's something I'm always going to come back to, and I know it's going to continually evolve.
Right.
That's why you can't stop.
Yeah, and I feel terrible because I love 10th Planet. You know, like that. I've only went, I think, like maybe it was like 6 or 7 months, like consistently, and so it makes me feel bad. I haven't been in there for a while, but you know, I will be back in
surgery.
There. Yeah, I've been dealing with some medical stuff, but you know, don't forget about me because I am coming back. You know, like I remember when I first started going to 10th Planet, like I was so nervous. You know, I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't do hardly any sports growing up or anything. Always afraid of confrontation, and then when I started class, you know, and John, you know, just such a nice dude, and like he never, like when I went there and I first started learning how to do stuff, I think my first class we were doing Granby's, you know, and I came into there 230 pounds. I'm 5'3", you know, so I'm in there doing Granby's and they're terrible.
But you have to kind of explain what a Granby is.
Oh, my bad. So you could, like, if you're starting from a sitting down, like flat butt position, you kind of roll onto your side and over your shoulder blades, kind of like a barrel roll.
Yeah, and you're sort of C-shaped while you're doing that, too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of like you roll around your shoulders and land back on your butt.
That's a very apt way of saying it. Yeah,
also, you know, from knee to knee as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I was in there and nobody was laughing at me, you know, so that gave me a little bit more confidence. And then I think maybe like 2 or 3 weeks in is when we started doing like the drills after class.
Yeah.
And I remember we were working from so the person on top was in full mount.
Yeah.
And the person on bottom, their only job was to get out.
Okay.
Successfully get out. Person on top's goal was to hold you down successfully.
I remember, those drills.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if he let me do it or not, but I was drilling with Cam that day. Yeah, Cameron Sullivan, look him up.
No shit.
Yeah, and so I don't know if he,
for real.
Yeah, I don't know if he let me do it or not because I was struggling really hard. But you know, I ended up getting, you know, my first sweep.
Yeah.
And the whole class was clapping and cheering. So that just gave me such a boost of confidence. Like I didn't think somebody like me could go in there and be able to perform stuff like that, you know? I used to be able to do like maybe 2 of all the warm-ups in the morning. And then I finally got to the point where I was keeping up with people in the warm-ups and I started losing weight and all that stuff. So it boosted my mental health, everything all around. And it really, you know, put a damper on my mood when I started missing more classes due to, you know, the medical stuff and switching jobs and all that stuff. But, you know, and it also lies on me. You know, I could free up my time a little bit more to try to be more consistent. So I'm going to try to get into the open mats at least as much as I can because I do have the weekends available.
It's a start, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would lose sleep literally when I first started because I would be thinking about every step through all the stuff we were learning, dude. And like I would just be so excited I couldn't sleep. Yeah, it's really amazing stuff. I would encourage anybody to try. It's low impact.
It's addictive. Anybody that's ever played golf.
Yeah.
And when you connect that perfect drive, if you really hit the big stick smooth at one time and you don't even feel it, the ball just explodes, you know, that's what happens to you. It's that same, you get that bell rung in jiu-jitsu, but it happens a lot more often.
Yeah.
And it's more readily available than it is in golf.
Absolutely.
But I think that's the addictive quality of it. It's when you catch that thing just right and it's effortless and you feel like a superhero, like you know, because it's so effortless, whatever it is that you're doing, you know. There's a quality to that gets super, super addictive.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Like my friends, I'm sure, you know, most of them like, oh, shut up, broken record, because, you know, constantly talk about jiu-jitsu. And I remember when I got my first submission, it was a guillotine. And, like, I just tell them, like, I wish you guys could, like, just have been in my shoes for that moment to feel it sink in perfectly.
Right.
And get that submission and feel the tap. Like, it was a huge accomplishment for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, you spend so much time when you start being that poor bastard that's on the receiving end of all of that, you know? When you find, and I know exactly what you're talking about. The first time someone taps out, and you're like, wow, and it was effortless, you know, it feels effortless.
Oh, yeah.
Mine was a new guy that, and I felt bad for him. It was funny because I was talking to Carl about this. I was texting
good
him.
Dude.
Oh God, I love Carl.
Yeah.
Best guy. Carl Mirror, shout out.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Firefighter.
Yeah, lieutenant now too.
Okay.
Right? We have to call
yeah.
him LT from now on.
All right, yeah.
But I was texting with him about it because he had taught me the whole hand creep thing. Walking your fingers and stuff when you're cinching up chokes and things like that. And there was this new guy, and I say new in the sense that I am a terrible student overall. Like I'm so inconsistent.
I gotcha.
But so I don't feel like an accomplished anything. So I don't want to be people mugging me thinking I know what in the hell I'm doing. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was a drill, same thing, and
Right.
it was his job to escape, and it was my job to choke him, and I choked him, and it worked, and I was just like, holy crap, man! Like there's and not only did it worked exactly the way I was told it was going to work. Too.
Yeah.
Or taught that it was going to work.
Yeah, the plan coming together. It's always awesome. I got a question for you as far as like jiu-jitsu and stuff. Do you feel like the tap and tell thing is disrespectful? Like I've always heard like you're not supposed to talk about tapping and telling or whatever, but me as a beginner, like when I talk about like when I get a submission, I don't mean any disrespect. Like if I say like, "Oh, I tapped this guy out," it made me feel good. Have you ever heard that saying before?
I haven't. I guess it's a respect thing. So
I think so.
I guess as long as you don't name names.
Yeah, because when I first started telling people about it, like I would say, "Oh, I swept this guy," or "I got a submission on this guy," and then after like I was talking about it a little bit, I heard like people who've been in the game for a little bit saying it's not cool to like tap and tell outside of the gym, but I don't know if that's more like in a disrespectful type thing.
Yeah.
Like earlier when I said like when I got a sweep, I don't know if Cam let me do it or not. Like obviously I wasn't meaning any disrespect by that. If I did legitimately sweep him, So I was just wondering your thoughts on that as far as like the whole tap and tell.
Man, I mean, I think I guess it all depends on the person, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't give a crap who tells people that
exactly.
they choked the shit out of me. I mean, one of my podcasts I was talking about, what's his name, Ashton?
The young kid?
He's like 14 now or something like that, just choking the shit out of me in class.
He swept the fuck out of me, dude.
He's a killer,
yeah,
man.
It was my first night class. I went in there, and we were doing the drills at the end of class.
Yeah.
And I went up against this kid, and I wasn't judging him by any means, but I'm just saying, like, I'm a 230-pound dude, and this is, hardly a teenager. Yeah. I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be really awkward. But he was on bottom, I was on top, and I went to pass his guard, and he just flipped me straight to my back, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
What happened. That was the moment for me.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, I was taking class. It was open mat and him. Was where it finally sunk in with me that this ain't no bullshit.
Exactly.
This stuff actually works, and I was like, wow, this is for real.
Yeah.
Because he, in air quotes, this kid just manhandled me. Like manhandled me. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. I love that stuff. And, Kevin Barr?
Yes. Yep.
I like rolling with him, even though he's a little dude. No disrespect to Kevin, obviously, but like he puts a pace on you, it makes you work to get, he's way more technical than me. And I like rolling with him because, I get a good workout going. I'm constantly fighting off attacks. He's trying everything, So even the little dudes, that's what jiu-jitsu is about. Smaller dudes,
exactly.
Big dude. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that, that's what I mean. Yeah. It definitely went, oh, okay. Here's something that actually can do what they say it does.
Yeah.
There's no woo-woo black magic, ki shit going on here.
Yeah.
This is physics and science and heart smashing it out and this weird chess match that happens between two people, Yeah. But and if you know how to play, the size of the other person becomes far less relevant in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, holy crap. People ask me, well, okay, what was it like the first time you went?
Yeah.
And I said, because class was class.
Yeah.
That's class, man. You got I had nothing to be worried about walking into class.
Yeah.
You know, it was open mat where when you see it applied in 3D, that you're like, whoa, okay, there's a lot more going on here than what we just did in class.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's where it got cemented for me.
Yeah.
That was it. I was like, okay, I got to learn this shit.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Absolutely. I feel like, for me, like, I was just nervous to go into class to start out. So I didn't know if it was going to be like going full clip the whole time.
Right.
You know, like John will show you something and then you just full clip.
Right.
You know? So.
You go get mugged. Yeah.
So I feel like I got, like a nice, like I eased into it really well because I went to the first couple weeks and it was just the classes. Then after the first couple weeks, he started tacking on the drills at the end. So I kind of got a feel for the live action type stuff. And then I went to a couple open mats and I was like, I wasn't necessarily nervous going into the open mat. It was more or less like the being in a bigger group of people that I was unfamiliar with. And I love jiu-jitsu, like, because, you know, being in somebody's personal space like that, it forces you to get comfortable with them real quick.
Yes.
You know, and then, you know, the little conversation in between, getting to know people. And I feel like it's all like just a giant package of boosting your confidence for everyday life, even, you know? And, you know.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
You definitely have to form interpersonal relationships with people pretty quickly when they're choking the shit out of you, you know, because you got to trust that guy's going to let go or that kid is going to let go before you black out, you know, or when you say uncle.
Yeah, there's a couple times somebody, you know, those rear naked chokes got slapped on pretty quick.
Yeah.
And, you know, like just a snap of the finger and my Adam's apple hurt for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Or first time you get guillotined. Oh my God.
That's
man.
rough.
Ugh. I hate that was like one of my first classes.
Yeah.
Was we were practicing those. And I'm like, man, if I'm going to hurt this bad every time I leave, and it eventually goes away.
Yeah.
You do get to like weirdly toughened up to it.
Yeah. And I hope that doesn't discourage anybody us talking about that kind of discomfort because it comes with the territory, obviously.
It's just that. It's just discomfort.
Yeah.
I've not been like, okay, so just to be clear, right? I had knee surgery.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with jiu-jitsu.
As well as my wrist surgery.
It's just something that I happen to be going through while I'm doing this. Okay.
Yep.
But I literally I know exactly how I tore my knee up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't any super cool, you know, leg lock or knee lock no, I got out of the bathtub wrong.
Oh, wow.
That was it. You know,
That's
there's my story for my knee surgery. Right. So, I think my physical fitness is probably because of jiu-jitsu is what helped me recover. One of the things that definitely helped me recover so much faster.
Yeah.
Than I would have when I was, you know, 268 pounds or whatever. Miserable.
Yeah. When I first started losing weight and stuff like that, I was going to the gym pretty consistently, and I ended up getting a few injuries from there, and that's why I ultimately quit going. But I think I lost somewhere around like 30 pounds just going to the gym. Yeah. But it didn't feel like it.
Right.
And I couldn't notice any differences. But when I started going to jiu-jitsu, just after like a month and a half of being there, I dropped, you know, I think I want to say it was 20 pounds.
Yeah.
But there was a visible difference in my body. Like my muscles were toning up, and that gave me even more confidence and, you know, motivation to keep going, even though I've been slacking recently, you know.
Yeah, the guys that do it all the time definitely have a shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a gorilla-esque physique that comes from, well, it kind of makes sense, from rolling around and fighting people like a gorilla.
Yeah,
You start to look like one after a while.
Yeah, especially when you get like the wrestlers in there that just have a different intensity.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I remember the first time I went up against a wrestler, like John said, oh, this is first class. So I'm like, all right, you know, I won't be like, you know, a dick and go, you know, not that I'm a savage or nothing, but, you know, just knowing a little bit of basic stuff to a new guy, you might be able to pull some stuff off. But it was during one of the drills, and he just exploded out from under me, and I just fell on my back laughing. Like, dude, did you wrestle? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, all right.
I've had that happen to me too with a brand new person too. And it was funny. The guy was like going after me. And I remember looking, I'm like hopping on one foot. This guy's got a hold of my leg, and I'm hopping around in a circle. And as I'm scanning the gym, I can just see John standing over there just looking at me over his shoulder like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, it ain't me.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
But I went into the class. I mean, that's the same thing when you come into the class and you think they're going to say go after they teach us this thing, and then this person's going to try to like mug me. So I've got to be like 100%. It's like So I've started just telling people we're going to go slow first. Okay. So I don't get wrecked by somebody thinking I'm the worst.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know how much more I'm going to be plugging 10th Planet New. Holy cow, man! It's just having you and Anthony here. I don't mean that in any disrespect or not. It's just it's a huge part of it's definitely a huge part of my life now.
Absolutely.
So, but you know what? You brought up a really good point. I got my sister looking to get the kids into something.
Yeah.
Get her helping her get her kids into something, either Gracie or 10th Planet or something. But it is one of those things, man, that it definitely changes you.
Yeah.
You're right about the confidence. You're right about all of those things, and it doesn't come from, I don't think, the place of feeling somehow secure because you're tough.
Yeah.
Or it isn't that. I don't think that. I mean, I'm sure that's a part of it. That there are, but that would be like very egotistical.
Absolutely.
And you can't really exist in that, especially 10th Planet Newark, but I imagine most of them. I don't think if you're a huge egomaniac, you're going to last very long.
Yeah, you got to be comfortable with losing at a certain point. Yeah, you got to be able to accept it.
Because if you're not, you're going to get tore up.
Yep.
Because there's nobody that's that good. There's nobody that can't be beat.
Yeah.
So at some point, you've got to learn to lose.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, and I think it's a good character builder as well. Learning how to lose and stuff like that.
Yeah, lose with grace, and then slap hands, bump fists, and then go back at it again. There's
absolutely.
It's character building.
Yeah.
And the great news about that though is it's sort of baked into your first 5 weeks. You're going to get, you're going to realize how little you actually know about a hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, especially coming back to the little dudes, just flipping you over. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you'll be
thought
very
at least
surprised.
my size counted for something. Nope.
Luckily, they do all of this on this really big pillow.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot nicer.
I'll tell you what, before John got those updated mats, my first week there, those takedowns were rough.
I remember those old mats, man. Yeah.
I mean, I got used to it eventually, obviously, but those first couple classes, my hips were a little sore.
Yeah. The hips and the I have a scar on my knee, so those mats opened that thing up every single time, every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new mats he's got are phenomenal, man. Again, here I go again, just promoting the hell out of his poor school, man. He's not, folks. He's not in any way. I want everybody to understand. He doesn't pay me.
Absolutely.
He doesn't give me a discount on classes. I'm not asking. I'm not. There's no. I'm just telling. I'm doing this because it's had that profound.
Yep.
I talk about it so much because it's had that much of an impact. And I mean, I just believe in what he's doing, man.
Yeah.
He's got a great thing going on.
Yeah, it's really good stuff.
Yeah. The big thing that turned it on for me was when I saw him with the kids' classes and stuff.
Yeah.
And just how well he is with the kids' classes and things. I mean, the guy's got the patience of
absolutely.
God Almighty. I don't know how he does.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about John is he's always nice no matter what. Even if you're it takes a minute for it to stick, like what he's trying to tell you. He's not, hands-on type stuff.
Yeah.
He'll move your arm for you to show you where it needs to go. Stuff like that, explain the leverage to you and all that. I think John's a really, really solid instructor.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's fun, man. I mean, I've got to meet you from there. I've got to meet Anthony from there. I'm sure there's going to be more. And there is something about that place. It's just very real.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something that's built into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because you can't be fake. You can say how bad you are or how tough you are.
Yeah.
You can look mean, get the right haircut, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you get on those mats, all of that's over now.
Yeah.
And now you have to perform. And I think that there's an allure to that, because everybody, the people you're meeting there and that are participating in this are real because of that. People that do it for any period of time.
Yeah. That's why when I go in there, even if I'm meeting somebody for the very first time, I'm all out on the line. When they ask why I joined the class, I'll straight up tell them, I'm trying to build my confidence. I'm not used to confrontation or anything like that. I'm not comfortable with being out in the real world per se. Like the farthest I've been outside of Ohio is Louisville, Kentucky.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like I hit this wall in my life where I need to get out. You know, I need to go see stuff. I need to get more life experience. You know, and I just don't.
So that was part of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just hit this wall. You know, it just felt, what am I? You know, not to get too dark, but it's like, what am I living for anymore?
Right.
You know, I'm just going to the same job. You know, not my current job, obviously. I like that place, but you know, just going to the same job, doing the same things on the weekends. Just, you know,
stuck on the treadmill.
Yeah, exactly. And it just got to the point like I need to do something. And then I got into podcasts.
Yeah.
And you know, it helped me with a lot of like mental stuff, because I feel like when I was growing up, nobody really taught me like how to handle my emotions that well. Like I used to be in anger management class when I was in like elementary school, middle grade, you know, or middle school.
Yeah.
And you know, nobody ever really taught me how to like process these things. And I found out throughout like my teen years and stuff like that, I was just really hostile, you know, not that I would go out and like hurt people on purpose, but I just had like a negative attitude towards the world, towards doing fun stuff like that. And once I started getting into podcasts and I hear somebody like Joey Diaz, you know, who's been to prison,
right,
you know, but hearing him talking about when he was younger, around my age, and having the same exact thoughts that I was having, all the negative stuff and all that, and how he dealt with it,
right,
and all that stuff like that gave me you know, a whole new respect for, you know, somebody like Joey Diaz, you know, criminal, been to prison and stuff like that. But that's why I don't judge people, because there's, you know, there's gold in there. You know, so learning how to process my emotions and stuff like that, being more open, you know, about my feelings to people, and not being a yes man all the time, stuff like that. I feel like it's a good start into building my character at this point in my life, even though I feel like I'm getting started a little late, you know, since I'm getting close to my 30s.
But you know, buddy, I mean, there's something that all those people have in common that I've noticed, and that is that they all live life for the experience of life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so joy and all that shit comes from, you know, being present and being, like I used to, dude, because I travel. Okay, I talk about it all the time. I travel for work, and there was years that, you know, when that phone would ring, I was like, you know, I don't want to go Podunk, Idaho, whatever, you know, wherever I had to go. You know, shitty smelling plants, you know, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But now I can't wait for it to happen.
Absolutely.
I can't wait. I can't wait to go out into the world now and meet new people and possibly talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, like it's in I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Fundamentally speaking, you know what I mean? In application, I'm doing the same thing I've always done, but why am I so much happier with it now?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that presence type thing, you know, where instead of moving through life like stuck in a current, it's about, you know, taking the time to sort of have the experience.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, man, like my whole perspective on everything changed after that, you know? So like I said, it's a mindset thing. It really is. But these people all live for the experience of living, and that is just a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Like, that's what I'm like, you know, slowly finding out, obviously. You know, building my confidence to go out and explore these things, to go out to more public events and stuff like that. So I think like a lot of the stuff from my childhood, like, made me afraid of the world per se, you know, like, when I was younger, my parents always raised me to be truthful about everything, you know, so.
Good parents.
But the other side of the coin here is that I would tell them the truth if I was doing something bad as well.
Okay.
And I would always get punished for it, even though I was honest. And so that's when I kind of learned about lying a little bit, you know, picking and choosing.
As every kid does, sure, yeah.
So, you know, and that's just what I was used to growing up. And so I think that kind of made me like back off a little bit on being as open as I should have been growing up, because I didn't want to say the wrong thing and face any consequences for it. Or like, you know, and as far as like visiting other places, maybe there was this one time I almost got kidnapped when I was a child.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so, and I think that kind of put a, you know, blocker on that for me as well.
I would think.
Yeah.
A little traumatic event there.
Yeah, because I want to say I was like, I'm going to say between 7 and 9.
Wow.
I can't remember the exact age, but you know where Chillicothe is?
Yep.
So my dad, he's got 7 kids. My mom's got 4, so 3 step siblings. And I was there visiting my brother, and his mom, and whoever she was with was out of town, so it was just him there. So I'm staying the whole weekend with him, and it's I don't know what time of night it is, but it's definitely dark out, and it's in the summer, so it's got to be pretty late. We walked down to this convenience store. It's a couple blocks away, and he's like, "Hey, chill out here for a minute. I'll be right back." So I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." So he runs behind the convenience store. So I'm sitting there on the side of the parking lot, just in the grass, and to the left is the actual convenience store. I'm probably, roughly 20, 30 feet away from the front of the store. And in front of me, probably the same distance from the store is a car. It's full of 4 dudes in there. They got their windows down. It's all dark in there. And they're like, "Hey, kid, you want any money?" So I'm like, I didn't even say anything. I just shook my head no. So they started throwing change out of the car. And they threw it like just right outside the door at first, then kept throwing it further and further. And when one of them got like super close to me, one of the coins, I took that first step forward to get it, and the back door of the car came open. So, but keep in mind, I wasn't like snatching distance right then.
Okay.
But the car door came open, and fight or flight came right in. And as soon as I saw that door open, I looked over to the store, and there was somebody coming out. I didn't even know who it was. I ran up to them like I knew who they were. As soon as I ran up to that person, they closed that car door and got the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And then my brother, he comes from behind the store shortly after, because the person I ran up to, they just kept walking past me. I didn't tell them what was going on. I was scared as fuck, so I didn't know what to do. I just wanted to make it look like I knew the person. So they walked past me and just got in their car and left. So I was standing up there in front of the store in the lights now. And my brother comes back around. I'm telling him what happens and all this shit. And he's like, "Well, where are they? Where's the car?" I'm like, I don't know. They drove off. I'm scared and shit. And as we're starting to walk back back to his house, this motherfucker's got a hickey on his neck.
So he's back there hooking up?
Yeah, he's back there getting pussy, and I'm out here almost dying. Like, are you kidding me? And I hope my parents don't hear this shit, because I never told them about it. I'm not trying to get my brother chewed out or nothing, man. But that was some traumatic shit. Like, I think about it still to this day, And like, I was also in the house of a dude that got arrested for being a pedophile.
Oh my God.
And I was also really young. I was probably like, I want to say maybe 10 or 11 at this point. So, and I mean, all jokes aside, I felt like I was like a tad out of this dude's age range.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm in his house. We're the only ones there. His bedroom's up on the 2nd floor. And when you look out of his window, the neighbor's house is right there. You can see straight down into the yard, which I was also friends with the kid that lived there. And he was a few years younger than me, so he was like 7, right? So I'm chilling on dude's bed, watching movies, and he's just sitting here talking, everything's cool, normal. He hung out with all of us, so it's not like he was a stranger to me. And he's sitting there in the chair, and he just starts talking about this neighbor over here, the neighbor boy. And he's like, excuse me, he's like, "Man, I'd really like to see him naked."
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I like turned around for a second, not knowing, what was going on. And like, he was just staring out the window with like this creepy look.
Yeah.
And the kid wasn't out there or anything though. He was just staring in that direction. And he's like, "Yeah, I'd like to, tie him up to the chair naked or whatever." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'm sitting there for a second, kind of a little, disgruntled, all this, like, so I'm like, "Can I use your bathroom? I gotta use the bathroom really bad." So he's like, "Yeah, it's, right on the other side of the hallway." Straight past the bathroom, out that front door.
Yeah.
Never came back. And once again, I wish, it was something that I brought to somebody's attention.
Yeah.
That it happened, because he actually did end up getting a hold of somebody.
They call it survivor's guilt.
Yeah. And but
okay, wait a minute. I am in no way, shape, or form a psychologist
or
a psychotherapist of any kind.
Absolutely,
right? But I think that's called survivor's guilt. Okay.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah. No, don't, I'm not a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. So
professional bullshitter. That's what I'm.
Yeah. So he's taught, and like I said, he ended up actually getting to one of these kids. But when I was like 17 or 18, this kid started coming down to the local skate park in Buckeye Lake. I was telling everybody, like, hey, this dude's fucking weird. You gotta watch out for him. Like, and then I told him that whole story I just told you.
Yeah.
And turns out, fast forward a couple years later, he's getting arrested on molestation charges. He's got child porn all over his PlayStation and shit like that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, how many bullets am I gonna dodge in my life?
But okay. So in context, though, do you ever give yourself credit for handling those situations the best you possibly could, given your age, your mental capacity? Because if you think about it, like the dudes in the parking lot, let's take that for example, okay? You handled that in an extremely pragmatic, smart way.
Yeah.
The way you did. You know what I mean? Because the outcome was that nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
Namely you. And in all of those cases, you were able to avoid.
Yeah.
But from that, you find some sort of self-doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
But however, you sort of handled those the best way you could have. So in essence, that shouldn't create doubt. That should show you that when the shit's hitting the fan, you could sort of depend on yourself. Yeah. Because you make good decisions. Those were all really good decisions.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, but like, and it's also one of those things, like, I don't try to look at it that way, because I try to just be as humble as possible, because I feel like if I look at something like that, like, oh, I made the right decision there, or all this and that, I feel like,
oh, no, man, I'm not telling you
to,
I'm not telling you to go out and king yourself.
Oh,
I'm saying that
when
when you need to, you tend to be able to rely on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's a self-reassurance thing, man. That's not a, a Rambo type thing.
Oh, exactly. It's just one of those weird things that, like, that's how I feel. Like, if I say it, like, so I don't want it to be me,
mm-hmm.
So, I think it's also just one of those insecurities from growing up, so just weird shit like that.
I have this theory that, and I've talked about this on the show before too, that there's no such thing as good or bad experiences.
Yeah.
There's only experiences.
Right.
And then there's the way you interpret that data and react to it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So someone that's been through a lot of shit in their life can be a train wreck of a human being, and at 50, 60, whatever, 70 years old, or they can be extremely wise. But they could all go through the same, you get two people that go through the exact same life experiences, and some of those people are going to be disasters because of those experiences, and then other people are just going to be extremely wise because of those experiences. What's the difference?
It's a perspective.
It's just choice. Yeah. It's just a choice.
The way you look at it.
Yeah. The wisest people, though, are the best people, because number one, they tend to be the ones that messed up the most shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that means they got the coolest stories.
Yeah.
Right. Because what may seem like chaos today is wisdom tomorrow. That's kind of how that works. Like one thing just turns into the other thing.
Right.
That's how it's supposed to work, I think.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to continue on being a train wreck. You're supposed to learn from your shit, because that's the other thing that's really interesting about life. It will hit you with the same bat over and over and over again until you figure out why it's hitting you with the bat.
What's going on? Yeah. And
just a perspective thing, man. I'm saying that, again, king of the bullshit artist here. if I'm anything, okay, I'm a bullshitter, but a lot of that kind of shit, like even sales and stuff like that, is based largely on how you view yourself.
Right.
Because if you view yourself as a terrible fill in the blank, then it's very likely that that's what you're going to become. It's like a thermostat.
Okay.
You set the thermostat. So if you already see yourself failing as a salesperson, don't bother, man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're done. You're done before. Don't even get out of the car. You're done. It's not, because if you don't believe in you and you don't believe in your product, there's no way you're ever going to be able to convince anybody else to.
Right.
Period. So don't bother. That's why this whole concept of high pressure sales and all salesmen are being evil and bad and all this, it's all bullshit, because you can't make people buy stuff.
Yeah.
The harder you push on people, the less they want it. That's just human nature.
That's how I feel, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the only way you sell things to people is find a way to make that thing resonate with them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Connect with them too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, you see it walking through stores all the time. People trying to push satellite packages on you and stuff. It's like, dude, I know you're just doing your job, but I'm not really trying to have this conversation.
Or windows, or if you're at
exactly.
the hardware stores and stuff like that. Yeah, I rent, see you.
Exactly. It's like, I don't, make up some excuse, insert excuse here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love new windows, but you'd have to ask my landlord about that.
Yeah.
Take that deal up with him.
Yeah.
So we had talked about originally doing this. There was going to be possibly another person.
Yes,
here.
Brandon.
Yeah, he didn't make it, huh?
Yeah. As you mentioned before, the old side hustle. He's got a second job right now, make that extra cash,
Priorities, man.
Yeah. He's actually trying to build a, obviously more money than just for this, but build a home studio and stuff like that. He's trying to build a nice life for himself.
Yep.
He went to school and got some certifications for the tech field, so he's got a nice, job right now doing that. But
so he's
got the side hustle.
Money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Dollar bill.
Yeah.
Well, I figure if we talk about him enough, then the next time he'll make way to be.
Oh, I'm sure he's at work right now. Just, I wish I was on the podcast. Like he's been pushing me really hard, to start a podcast with him.
Yep.
And stuff like that. And
I was going to mention that when we started the show,
right.
that one of the things you wanted to come and kind of experience this and see what it was about and how it kind of all worked. So I didn't mention that. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're
so
good.
I'm trying to encourage you. Yes, by all means, do this. It's a shit ton of fun. And, and
definitely.
It's very rewarding.
Yeah. It's just like when we sit there and brainstorm about it. It's like, what are we gonna do?
You gotta hit record, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were saying, you gotta put out a few that you expect no one to listen to and let it, get its legs under it and go from there.
Can't drive a parked car, brother. Go make some duds. Go make some shitty podcasts. I've made plenty of them.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to make some, I'm sure, I'm an infant to this too, but you got to hit record. It's just like with music too. You got to record. You got to hit record at some point.
Yeah.
You got to record, you know? So
that's what I appreciate, about like Brandon's friendship is because like, he's one of my only friends that'll like try to push me to do creative stuff like that, like to write music or start podcasts and stuff like that. And he's like, not consistently on it, like hounding me, but he will bring it up occasionally. Like I feel like it's something that he really wants to do. We're both like, we come from the same like kind of beginnings as far as like playing music. We got the same like style. We like the same comedy stuff. So, I feel like it could be a successful thing. It's just figuring out the formula and how it's going to work together. I feel like we got good chemistry back and forth. We've known each other for, I'm going to say probably 13
That's
years.
Huge.
Yeah.
It could be really, if you're going to have a co-host, a regular one, that relationship has to be really solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also as far as, listening to podcasts and all that stuff, like I feel like it's, opened both of us up more on our perspective towards things. Like earlier, our conversations wouldn't necessarily be limited, but now we actually touch on more things than what we usually would. The conversation's more natural. We're making each other laugh a lot. Yeah. Like just naturally, like, just.
Got a good energy there.
Yeah. He's a really good dude and I respect his friendship.
Yeah, but he didn't call off today.
Yeah.
So he's a chump.
I can't hate on him too much. Yeah. He's got a little baby mouth.
I get it. Yes.
Yeah.
I've fed 4 of them myself.
Yeah.
Still do, damn it. It never ends. You never stop being dad. It never ends.
Yeah.
I love you, kids.
Yeah.
College money's coming.
Yeah.
Well, brother, we've been first podcast, hour and a half. How you feel?
It's not how I thought it would be, not in a negative way by any means.
It could be in a negative way. I don't know.
No, absolutely not in a negative way. I don't feel pressured or anything, It's
a lot easier than you think it is.
Yeah, pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the experience all around and look forward to doing it again for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have you back on the show. We just sort of hung out today. We didn't really cover any specific topics and stuff, but I know we've got some ideas about stuff, and I'd really like to see you continue and start your own show. I really would. For a couple reasons. Number one, I think you guys would be great at it. I haven't met Brandon yet, but
it's good, dude.
If he's friends with you, it's probably pretty solid. But number two, I'd really like to have a show I can go be a guest on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Every now and then too.
I mean, that's what it's about. The strong community. Yeah.
So, well, very cool, man. Well, you want to wrap up here? We'll get this thing published and put out there. You got anything you promoting? Anybody that you need to talk about?
Yeah, actually, I mean, obviously, I'm writing music and all that stuff, but nothing that's going to be out like relatively soon. But
Okay.
I got these dudes. They're the Hope Dealers. They got out a CD. You can get it on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. It's like a blues rock band with like kind of like rap style vocals, but it's not like aggressive type vocals or anything. And there's a really good message behind the lyrics and all that. It's really good musicianship. And I just respect those dudes a lot. They got a really cool songwriting process. I've been able to sit behind the scenes a couple times and see how they do it. Really gives me a lot of inspiration, and they're all really solid dudes. So I would just say support your local music scene or your local artists in general, and try to build everybody up.
And check out the Hope Dealers.
Yep, check out the Hope Dealers. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep, they're always playing local shows. They branch out a little bit, but we've got like this nice little scene coming up in Newark now with the Earthworks Recording Studio. They got their own venue down there now called 31 West, and they have a bunch of cool acts coming through there. Yeah, it's a really solid place, really good sound. I was really impressed there. I saw one of their first shows there at the 31 West, and it's really good production quality.
This is new to me. I haven't checked it out yet, but now I want to, definitely.
It's really cool stuff, and they got like the Dank House Brewery and barbecue and all that.
Big microbrewery scene going down here in Central Ohio for sure. Yep.
Yep. So I mean, that's all I would say. Just check out your local artists and support them as much as you can.
Nice. Awesome, folks. So we'll wrap up there.
Absolutely.
It's been a great show, man. I cannot wait to have you come back on and sooner than later.
Pleasure.
But go and check us out, noshitcast.com. The website's up and running and doing well. Make sure that you give us some likes and shares, folks. We love shares. That's good stuff. So we're going to wrap it up there. Sure. Appreciate everybody out there listening, and we'll catch you all next time. Bye, Sickle.